another Secret Santug Holiday House Swap 2022 house. This time, Hall of Fame 36 Kodahome SSHHES22 by Trimia. The owner is Kodakrome, Kodakrome, and it is an 18 Karana court in South Qeynos, I believe. And here we go. So, very nice entrance. We got some purples and blues going on. Let's see, is there a book somewhere? I don't see one right away. Okay. All right, let's go over here. Nice little window. Fireplace with lots of decor. Some candies. Okay. Oh. Frostfell Dancer, hold me closer. You're funny. Okay. Did this house actor say anything? No. All right. I saw you dancing out on ice, slipping fast along its flow. A spirit born of snow and hail, icicles flying from your bow. I know that it's from Tiny Dancer, but I'm not gonna sing it. My throat's been bothering me. My nose is plugged. Okay. Hold me closer, Frostfell Dancer. Count the reindeer on the sleigh. Play with me in the drifts of snow. Glug gave us both gifts today. There are rainbows we run along, hot cocoa in icy coves, frosty breaths between the silence. What magic we have wove. Hold me closer, Frostfell Dancer. Count the reindeer on the sleigh. Play with me in drifts of snow. Glug gave us both gifts today. And it says Frostfell Dancer, Hold Me Closer, first edition Norathian year of 4115 by Selena Volnarian, inspired by Elton John and Britney Spears. Britney Spears was part of that? 2002 Hold Me Closer Tiny Dance. Oh, it's a remix. Okay. Well, alright then. I haven't heard the remix version. I'm not a big Elton John fan, to be honest with you. Don't be mad at me. I mean, I don't, like, change the channel or anything, but I don't, like, just listen to only his songs. Anyway, he's funny, though. He's been in movies, and it's hilarious. Can't remember what movie it is, but he was kidnapped. And, like, yeah, anyway. I don't remember what movie it was, but it was funny. Alright. I'm distracted. I'm sorry. The great windows on that side. I look at the kitchen and dining room. Very nice. Lots of goodies to eat. I like these things. I like that color palette. So very nice. Oh, and you change the basin and put a faucet on this thing. That's very nice. Lots of goodies. And you got crafting over here. Let's see here. Does this say anything? No, it's a flyer. Okay. We got 2 saws because we got a crafting station. Very nice. Okay, let's go downstairs. Oh, lots of stars on the ceiling too. Very pretty. Very festive. Oh, and let me go out this door first. I should have gone out there first. Oh, and you got Easter eggs in there. Or, excuse me, Easter eggs in there. Very nice. Lots of plushies out here. Stable area. Very cool. Alright. Let's go downstairs, shall we? Ooh. Very nice. Lots of teleporters and stuff. Oh, we've got to do this. Backhand. Whoa. Prod. Poke. Slap. Ouch. Lots of teleport stuff down here. Very nice. Oh, and you get this guy too from SOE Live. I missed that year. I went the year before and the year after. Makes me sad. Very, very sad. Because the one year they didn't have any house item. And the other year they had one house item. You could only claim it once, not on every character. So I picked the wrong years to go. Very nice with the floor. Very creative. I like the colors that you used. Purple and blue. I love these little bird guys. They're cute. Okay. Let's go upstairs. Some decoration on the way up. Very nice. What a nice bedroom. Yeah, the closet, some plants. I like the new curtains. Lots of books. Okay. So Selena has all kinds of books in here. I'm not going to read all of them. Or I might do it at the end. There is a deco raid on Miss Jewel. I forgot about it, and it's an hour and 5 minutes before the deco raid, so we'll see here. Guardy the Frostfell Elf. Which one did I click on here? Oh, here, Kodakrome left something. Hello, Decorator. I am a high elf carpenter. I love Frostfell. No, I mean really love it. So anything goes with that, including lots of snow and snowing and trees with lights and decorations and presents. I love fireplaces that I can warm myself and my pets at. I love dogs and cuddling with them on a nice cushy couch at night. Most of all, I want you to enjoy this build and don't let anything stress you. I don't bite. Favorite colors are purple, silver, blue, white, and black. I love the traditional turkey dinner. Happy Frostfell Coda. Very nice. Okay, so uh, here we go. Thank you for welcoming me into your home by Trimia. Okay. I had such a joy decorating your home for the winter holiday house swap. It's been a long time since I've decorated a standard Qeynos home. It was a challenge. Hopefully you and your pups enjoy the fire and your Frostfell treats. Happy Frostfell Jaraza. P.S. If you decide to publish the home, I decorated it with my carpenter Trimia. Okay. Um, and oh, it was the card. Okay, let's do the card. Guardy, the Frostfell Elf by Selena Valnarian. Guardy the Frostfell Elf had very shiny globes. He would always gift them to everyone he knows. All of the giggle gibbers would laughing call him names. They even broke his snow globes for one of their mini games. I'm not gonna sing, like I said. Then one chilly Frostfell Eve, Santa Glud came to say, Guard with your nimble hands, won't you come, give toys to the lands. The giggle gibbers said they're sorry, as they danced around in glee. Guardy the Frostfell Elf, he'll be in North Wrath's history. Happy Frostfell to one and all. Guardy the Frostfell Elf, first edition circa 3852. Okay. Think of the Stars, an Earthian Tale. Uh, Volume 1, Volume 2, Volume 3. Then there's Quo's I almost said birthday. Brew Day Adventures, Volume 1 and 2. And then Quo's Fanfare Adventures. And then Quo's Misadventures, Volume 1 and 2. So 4 different book series, and yeah. I don't know if everyone wants to listen to me talk that long. Um, Maybe after I'm done with the tour. Sorry, I'm like making weird noises. I just had water. I don't mean to be smacking my mouth like that. Oh, so I did it more. Yep, I sure did. Nice little sitting area in your bedroom and lots of books to read. Nice and cushy bed. Lots of rugs. Nice little sitting area. Oh, and a nice place to display your stuffs. Okay, well, I think that's everything. So, for those of you that don't want to listen to me read more, go ahead and watch the next video. Otherwise, you can stick around. Let's see how well I do with the first book. Think of the Stars, An Earthian Tale, Volume 1 by Selena Volnarian. Think of the Stars. Okay. Anyway, the year, I'm going to say published the year 4059. So it says May 26, 2119. Roosevelt Space Data Center, New York City. Updated ETA. The Indian Astronomical Observatory reports time holding steady. Dr. Kinsler T minus 7 minutes. Ethan says Ethan nods sharply to his data miners and turns back toward the crew in the computer command center, the brightest minds of NASA, most from his data team, some from the country's other space centers, pour over trajectory charts and run checks on DART, the double asteroid redirection tool. I think I've read this before, but it was in for a different event, so I'm going to read it anyway. Sorry. Okay. The deflection defense missile was tested many times by targeting asteroids and other solar systems over the past century, but today is the first time it will be deployed to defend Earth, or more specifically, the Moon. Ethan grimaces as he looks at the array of monitors at the front of the room. Several live streams, courtesy of the observatories in Eastern Europe and Asia, show what, until 2 days ago, was a speck of darkness with Mercury as its backdrop, is now a massive asteroid nearly blotting out everything around it. The Tautetus asteroid has been considered a potentially hazard object to Earth since the early 1990s. Yet each of its 4-year approaches were too distant to cause true concern. Something was different about Something was different about the asteroid's orbit this time. When it first came into view after its recent slingshot around the sun, the asteroid's trajectory seemed unstable, chaotic even. It wasn't until the asteroid had nearly passed Venus the astronomers began raising the alarm. The asteroid is on a collision course with the moon. Dr. Kinsler, Ethan blinks and turns to see his deputy administrator, Malia, holding out a tablet. He takes it from her and sucks in a deep breath. T minus 237, 236, 235 flashes across the top of the display with the pin authorization for the mission below. Ethan glances at Malay. I'm sorry, my brain. Malaya, or whatever I said before, who gives him an encouraging smile before he taps his code onto the screen. The display flashes green. All 4 NASA Space Centers have authorized DART's launch. It's time, he says, handing the tablet back to Malaya. The data miners confirm a steady trajectory, second by Dr. Anand via an open live stream with the India Astronomical Observatory. Ethan turns to address the room as the count rolls down to 90 seconds. I have every confidence in the mission, Ethan says, and it's the most important one of our lives. The world is counting on us. Let's deflect the asteroid out of the solar system. Yes, I keep changing that word. Okay, the next minute drags even as his technicians call out coordinates. Only a few voices continue steady calls over the final 10 seconds, and silence falls over the crew as DART launches from the International Space Station toward the asteroid. The live stream telescope view shows DART's straight path toward the asteroid. Ethan clutches the back of a chair as the two objects finally collide. Dr. Kinsler DART has successfully impacted 4179 Tot TS whatever asteroid. Dr. Anid says a small cheer erupts from Ethan's teams. Woo! And he waves them to silence. That's great news, Dr. Anid, he says. We're tracking the shift in. Dr. Anid cuts off amid muffled background exclamations. It can't be! Ethan looks at the worldwide live streams, seeing only a jumbled mess of debris. The brief visual from DART died with impact, and the United States observatories can't observe the event from their current rotational position. What is it? What's wrong? Ethan demands. The noise from the Indian astronomical observatory quiets, and he clenches his fists during the brief lapse of silence. It was unclear at first, Dr. Anid says haltingly, but it appears that 4179 Tauntus is fractured. There are many smaller meteoroids that will burn up in our atmosphere or strike the moon. Ethan shakes his head and glances at Malia. That scenario wasn't even a possibility in any of our models, she hisses. DART is a kinetic impact deflection, not an explosive. The asteroid's basin has some weak points, but DART was only supposed to adjust its trajectory. There must be an unknown metallic composition. Something we haven't encountered before, Ethan frowns. Are there larger meteoroids? And Anid? Dr. Anid? Dr. Anna's heavy sigh echoes through the subdued command center. Yes, unfortunately. Enough debris has scattered, and we have identified 3 distinct meteoroids. Dr. Kinsler, their trajectory is now Earth. Transmit us your data, and we'll help crunch the numbers. Of course. Good luck, Dr. Kinsler. One by one, Malia switches the screens from the chaotic mess of asteroid debris to observatory views from North and South America. The Earth's rotation still blocks the clear view of the impending disaster. New data comes in that 2 meteoroids have collided, but both the Indian Astronomical Observatory and Ethan's team note that only their speed has slowed and the trajectory changed. Dr. Annan's assessment is undeniable. 3 large meteoroids are still on a collision course with Earth. Continued in Volume 2. So, author's notes on the next page. Author's notes. I originally wrote this story in the fall of 2019, before the world turned upside down and the real-life test version of NASA's DART was launched in 2021. It is too long for a single volume, so I broke it into 3 books. If you're unable to obtain the other volumes, send me an in-game mail and I will send you the missing volumes. In the real world, this short story was published in the charity anthology Need Help Soonish, the 2021 FARC Fiction Anthology. 100% the anthologies. Proceeds are donated to St. Jude's Children's Hospital. It contains many other excellent stories from a variety of genres. Okay, I'm going to keep going. I know I read it in another house, but they might not have seen that. So, here we go. And I think I'll just do this video and then do the Majul Deco raid. Okay. Think of the Stars, An Arthurian Tale, Volume 2. Okay. First impact is in less than 4 hours. Malaya, I don't know. Reports. The target is the Pacific Ocean, near Australia. Send interception coordinates to the International Space Station, Ethan calls out to the data miners. The President has authorized the backup DART's immediate launch. This is the last DART at the ISS, someone exclaims. Ethan levels a hard gaze on his team. Well, We'll save as many people as we can with that we have. Get me an update on the other two meteoroids. Most of his team busy themselves with the data while Ethan leans over a display of the backup dart's video feed. Anxiety ripples through him as the final dart launches. Too early, the video spins out of control and its feed cuts off. We lost connection with the ISS. Malaya says grimly. Her words linger in the hushed command center. Ethan turns away, wiping tears from his face. 9 astronauts had been stationed at the ISS. The next several hours pass in a blur as Ethan speaks to one government official after another. Some demand accountability, others plead for a way to deflect the asteroids from Earth's orbit after the failed attempt with the second dart. They seethe over his response. Preparing for evacuations is more important than bringing him to task. And without the ISS, there isn't enough time to ready a third dart. One of the last phone calls confirms that the first Tautis piece, measuring nearly 2.41 kilometers long, struck the center Pacific basin. The extent of the damage is unknown. Phone calls begin to cut out, and even the emergency communication lines die. Live streams and cable news go dark. Too many satellites have been taken out by meteoroids. As communication falls apart, Malia how many times have I said this name and I keep saying it wrong and different and anyway. Malia, whatever, I don't know, unearths a ham radio from a storage closet. Ethan shakes his head while she fiddles with the old device. He understands her obsession, though. Everyone has no idea what to do while awaiting instruction from NASA's director. Cut off from family, friends, and the world, he sees his team crumbling. He decides enough is enough. They should be with family. This is Jody Elpis. Is this frequency busy? A voice crackles over the radio. We're here, Malia says, grabbing the microphone. Great. Who have I reached? Malia hands the microphone to Ethan. MX Elpis, this is Dr. Ethan Kinsler at NASA. Oh, NASA! The one in Texas? I didn't think my radio reached that far. Jody pauses. Oh, you're not the ones who caused this, are you? I'm afraid we are. Ethan looks at Malia, who darts her eyes elsewhere. We're cut off from all communication. Last we heard, the Central Pacific Basin was struck. Jody's response is garbled and Ethan swears. Malia reaches to adjust the frequency, but the radio operator comes through before her hand touches the interface. Sorry, some interference on my end. Lots of radioactivity right now, Jody replies. New Zealand surveillance teams are having issues determining the worst of the Pacific Basin impact. Megatons of water vaporized, so flight is basically impossible. All the islands in the region are considered to be gone, however. Aside from Jody fills the radio, Hawaii included. Massive mudslides and flooding in both Australia and New Zealand as well. Ethan clenches his jaw. How many people are dead? Suffering, all because he led his team into a flawed mission. He should have spent more time with the data, ran more models, anticipated possible weak points of impact. Jody is quiet for a few minutes before their voice crackles over the radio again. Dr. Kinsler got a message from my other radio. National Guard is en route to evacuate your team to an island state bunker. Current ETA is 10 minutes. Be ready. Thanks, MX Elpis, Ethan says, waving to his team to begin preparations to leave. Does that mean we're in a potential impact site? Latest reports confirm the entire East Coast should evacuate, Dr. Kinsler. Activity around the room passes, and several people gasp before moving back into action. It might hit the ocean like it did in the Pacific, but no one is sure. Evac so far is messy anyway, and the astronomers at the fancy South American Observatory think we only have a few hours at best. Even if an asteroid only struck the ocean, the shockwave would decimate the east coast. Ethan keeps that thought to himself. And a third meteoroid? I assume it didn't strike yet. No, no, yet, Jody says. It's moving slower, unfortunately. They think Western Europe is the impact zone. Ethan breathes deeply. Guilt suffocating him. Okay. A solid hit on land might wipe out one country, possibly more. He was beginning to wish he hadn't asked. Dr. Kinsler, I gotta go. Gotta keep the info flowing. I'll check in if I hear more. But you'll probably be gone. Of course, MX Elpis. Ethan looks at his team gathering at the command center doors. I don't know where you're at, but get yourself to safety. Right, right, Jody Elpis signing off. Okay, it's the same note. So volume 3. 1 second. The radio goes silent, and Ethan walks to his desk as the team flies out to the files out to the helipads. Papers from the DART mission are scattered across the desk, so Ethan hurriedly shoves them into a manila folder. He unlocks the top drawer and pulls out several top secret files on technological advances that will eventually expand Earth's reach in space, creating a small but important stack of information. Dr. Kinsler, the National Guard just arrived. We need to hurry, Malia says. Ethan shoves the stack into Malia's hands. You're a brilliant scientist, Malia. I trust you to absorb this knowledge and share it with the right people. The world might be set back an untold number of years today, but one day progress will start again. But you're not coming with us, are you? Ethan shakes his head. Dr. Kinsler, Malia looks at the files in her hand before meeting his gaze again. It's been an honor, Ethan. She dashes from the room. Minutes blend into hours. Ethan paces until his legs grow tired, then sits on the ground beside a ceiling-to-floor window, watching the lifeless city below. Electricity has been disrupted, and it doesn't take long for Times Square to transform from a glowing neon citadel into an abandoned husk. This is Jody Elpis. Is this frequency busy, Dr. Kinsler? Ethan's head jerks up, and he rushes to the microphone. Call me Ethan, please. I didn't expect to hear from you again, MX Elpis. Ethan walks back to the window, stretching the microphone cord to its limit. Darkness creeps across distant buildings. The radio operator breathes a humorless laugh. If you're Ethan, I'm Jody. I thought your team was getting an evac. My team evac'd. The radio emits only static for a moment, and Ethan wonders if the frequency was disrupted. The darkness blots the horizon, and he forces himself to look at his old analog watch. His team teased him about the antique find, but it turned out to be a useful investment after all. The watch hands glide slowly along, showing that it's nearly 5:15 p.m. Why did you stay, Ethan? Ethan wonders that himself. The guilt, surely. How could he endure knowing he led the mission that in turn destroyed swaths of Earth? Where are you, Jody? Ethan asks, avoiding their question. Somewhere inland, I hope. Away from all this. This all. Sorry. Jody lets loose an unbridled laugh, causing Ethan to jump. No! Of all places, I'm in the top level of the Empire State Building. Amazing reception here. Jody pauses. Radio might be a hobby of mine, but I knew that in a crisis it might also be the last avenue of communication we have. I passed on messages as long as I could between families, friends, government officials, businesses, you name it. And now, no more messages. It's been a while since I've seen any Hyperloop pods or supersonic planes, so my guess is the East Coast is mostly abandoned. Ethan looks at the shadows darkening in the street below. I think you're right about that. Only the soft crackling of an open radio connection indicates that Jody is still there. Ethan, it's getting dark. He swallows hard, closing his eyes to blot out the meteor plummeting toward the city. Just think of the stars, Jody. Think of the stars. The end. Okay, and then it's the same stuff from the other one. Okay, so next one, which is 2 volumes, Quo's Brew Day Adventures, Volume 1 by Selena Valnarian. Quo's Brewery Adventures, 2nd edition, published in the year of 3862. Well, let's go already. I grumbled as I yanked Quo onto my griffin and with me and took off into the skies. Whee! Quo screamed, causing my ears to be on the verge of bleeding. Wait, aren't we supposed to be going to the turtles, Selenia? My mommy said that you could take me to Velius and we could find some harvest and we could go on a tour of Thurg. I began to laugh. Quo, I'll take you to Velius, but not right at this moment. You're fortunate today, for Brew Day has just begun. We will celebrate Brel, beer, and you can learn what special harvest he has laid on the lands for you to gather once you earn his respect. Quo thought about this for some time. Well, okay then, but will it take long? My mommy said that your mother said that I was to be your guardian, but she never said when I needed to return you to her. I am sure she won't mind you being gone a bit longer, I replied. Quo seemed at a loss for words. I smiled to myself and banked toward Antonica, where our adventures would begin. We landed near the north Qeynos gates of Antonica, where the entrance to the bar of Brel was to be found. I showed Quo the portal, and as he gawked at the dwarves chugging down ales nearby, grabbing his arm, we stepped through the portal and found ourselves inside the bar. Wowee! Cried Quo. This is so cool! Where are the harvests? I rolled my eyes. First, you need to earn respect so they will entrust their special glasses to you. Those glasses will allow you to see Brel's gardens. Cole made some funny noises. Surely he must be running out of arguments by now, and followed along behind me as I introduced the 2 of us to the patrons. A few of them needed some knives to stab them in the back. Oh, I mean, follow. I introduced him to the 2 of us to the patrons. A few of them needed some assistance as I jotted down notes in my journal, while the brat, extreme brat, looked on with avid interest. We stopped by the merchant for a chat, and I purchased a couple of pretty tiles for Quo and his family to study the craftsmanship of at home. Now, Quo, I said, as you have likely noticed, a great part of Brew Day is drinking. You are far too young to imbibe in such drinks, but I would like to teach you the dangers of heavy drinking. So come downstairs with me, please. We walked behind a heavy curtain and down the stairs, where several of the patrons were fighting. Quo's eyes almost bulged out of his head. This boy really was the face of innocence. I cleared my throat to get his attention. You see, drinking too much leads you to do stupid things. He is drunk all the time. I hate to tell you. Okay. Take, for instance, these 2 men here. They're fighting over a silly card game that neither of them will win now. That that they've broken the table and chairs. Tomorrow morning, they'll likely apologize to each other, go back to drinking, and wind up right back where we are now. A light seemed to finally go on in Quo's head. I'll never drink. That's horrible to fight with your friends. I chuckled and trucked him back upstairs, where we departed the bar and set out on a mission of questing. Continued in Volume 2. Alright, Volume 2. Our quests took us all over the Shattered Lands. I stumbled about finding objects of power for Snuggle. Oh, sorry. I have stuff going on in the chat window, so I got distracted. Okay. I showed Cole how to tip a cow for a distraction, how to tip a minotaur that considered being aggressive, and how to tip over once you're drunk too many spirits. Taking a dare from one of the patrons, I ended up on a crazy adventure, much too blurred to remember, only to return to him and be sent out again to find his armor. During all of this, the boy just gawked and was silent. It seems that for once and for all, I may have found a way to make him less annoying. I don't think so. We finally met the avatar of Brel, who was wandering the fields of Antonica. He ruffled Quo's tuft of hair in amusement as he requested that we find some select brews around the world. Quo and I delved deep into the Black Burrow, where we nabbed a bit of stout for the avatar. We flew over Majdul and acquired a local spirit from a suave merchant. Some adventures on the Butcher Block docks squealed and covered Quo's eyes as Tumpy Iron Toe dared me to streak around in exchange for his brew. We headed back to the avatar of Brel, who was pleased with what we brought. He directed us to return to the bar Brel, where the local patrons were impressed with Quo's assistance and bestowed their special glasses upon him. Now, I said, let's go find those gardens. Quo danced around with joy as he put on the glasses. We headed out to the Frostfang Sea and began searching for the Brude Gardens. As we ascended one of the hills, I heard Quo shriek and thought that he might be in danger. I ran to catch up and found Quo running in circles around one of the gardens. He was so excited that he was unable to make any intelligible sounds. Once I pinned him to the ground and got him to calm down, we carefully plucked out the harvest from the garden. I continued onward toward the city of New Hollis. We found several more gardens. After a while, I called for a rest. We sat down together and looked over what we had gathered. Now, the rarest harvest from these gardens and Brel's own emerald clovers, I only managed to find one. I was saying, but Quo quickly cut me off. I have 20 of them. Look, 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 look. He spiraled off into a jumble of excited noises. I sighed. Even though the boy was annoying as a screeching bat outside your window at night, I had to commend his talent in finding the rarest of rares. Several hours later, I managed to convince Quo to head back to the Brel bar. There's a surprise waiting there for you, and we shouldn't be late, I explained to him. As we entered the bar, I led him to the center. He looked around confused, but I assured him that the surprise would be arriving very soon. While I was giving my assurances, the doors to the bar burst open, and several of my friends stepped inside. Surprise! They called. It's a party to celebrate your brew day experiences, Quo. The boy was tickled pink, and a good time was had by all. The Burglars, a band that regularly plays at the bar and in Caledon, kept up their rousing performance as we took turns singing and dancing with Quo. I think my faith friend really took a liking to the boy, as she kept dancing around him and handing him roses as the evening wore on. At long last it was getting late, and the Brel the bar of Brel was ready to close its doors for the year. There's one last thing I'd appreciate, I said. All of you get together with Quo so we can have a group picture to remember this wonderful day by. I wonder how much Quo will enjoy Bristlebane Day. Find out in Quo's Misadventures, Volumes 1 and 2, The End. Author's notes. This story was far too long to fit into one notebook without chopping out a good portion of it. I broke it up to 2 volumes for this reason. If you obtained one of these volumes from the broker and the other was not available, please send me an in-game mail and I will get another volume to you. Special thanks to Domino for unintentionally giving me such a fun pet. Okay, so here's volume 2. Our quest took us all over. Wait, did I already read number 2? Yes, I read number 2. All right, on to Quo's Fanfare Adventures. This one was second edition, the year of 3872. Hi everyone, it's me, Quo Ogren again. Last time Selenia let me write the closing of our adventures, and I did such an awesomely cool job that I get to write it again. Yeah, okay. Early last month, Selenia took a good look at me and said, quote, we need to get you out of Norath. I figured she had built a teleporter to take me to Drenel, but then she said, this won't hurt too much. The next thing I knew, I felt so squished. I saw this huge silver thing flashing around my body, and a short time later I came face to face with Selenia's real life self. Not she told me to not worry about the TSA, and I still don't know what that is, but it sounds scary. And then tucked me away in a case and shoved that into a bag. Hours later, I was removed and looked around for the first time at Las Vegas, Nevada. This exotic place had palm trees and was very hot. Oh, very, very hot. We were in a big room in something called a hotel, which seemed like hundreds of iron toe inns stacked on top of each other. Shortly after, another Norath person called Cathian came in, and I was taken on a grand tour to see the real people I've nagged in Norath. It was a fun and a crazy few days, and I got to meet lots of cool people who I'm told must really love me to keep me on the face of Norath. Here's my story, which Selenia insists on narrating because I still tend to write running on sentences. Running on sentence. Okay. Which still sounds silly, and I don't think I do that because I'm getting so much better. Quote Ogren. Sorry about that. The wretched child never wants to give up the quill. Fanfare 2011 was hosted again in Bally's, Las Vegas. I arrived on Wednesday and was quickly in a whirlwind of activity with my Quo proxy forgotten for a couple of days. Friday rolled around by the time I remembered that Quo hadn't received his fanfare treatment, so the fun began. First, Quo was introduced to the main showroom, where he quickly came face to face with the person who empowered him in Norath, Emily Domino Taylor. He hopped on her shoulder and photobombed the group picture that she was posing for with Kathleen and Jathiel Silverwing. He then proceeded to nag them all for some harvest. The boy had a lot to learn about Vegas. Later that evening, we went to the pool party and had a blast. Quo was a bit nervous since he was underage, but I let him out for a bit of a swim. When the rain started to fall, he panicked about deteriorating, and I had to take the kid back up to our room. On Saturday morning, I decided to let Quo call the shots for a while. He ran right up to the authenticator table and started rambling about roots, berries, various types of pelts, and finally got up the nerve to ask the woman at the table for an authenticator. She asked him for his badge and stammered out some random numbers in confusion and was given an authenticator. When we then went to look at the silent auction items and station store, Quo squealed in delight when he ran into Cloudrat at the silent auction and begged for a picture, which she silently agreed to. At the station store, he got quite attached to the Free Realms hats, and I finally had to pull him away, explaining that he wouldn't be able to take them back into Norrath to wear. Next up was the demo stations, and Quo absolutely insisted on spending time at the Free Realms one. He got a close look at it and kept inquiring about what types of harvest there were, how he could get them, and how many people would be willing to help him out. Farming in Sacred Grove was explained to him, and it was then almost impossible to get him away from the game. Before leaving the showroom, Quo stopped by to get a green screen picture taken. It only took him a moment to decide on the Free Realms background. Sacred Grove, Denzians, beware of Quo. Saturday afternoon was creeping up, and I took Quo out to lunch with Kathleen and Domino. Quo was quite excited about Grey Poupon and tried to convince me to take it home so that he could study it more there. Domino showed him the joys of Mar cherries in adult beverages and had to endure the boy chattering about cherries for the rest of the meal. One of the final Everquest to fanfare panels quickly approached, and Quill begged for a way to meet more of Norrath's creators. We approached the developer table, and Carlos Mora, welcomed Quo to sit at their table during the panel. The brat managed to keep his mouth shut for the entire content and art design panel, much to the amazement of the audience. We went sightseeing a bit after the panel and ended up at the Bellagio fountains. Quo oohed and awed throughout the entire fountain show and thankfully did not try to harvest any ducks afterward. He spent some more time looking around the city before trekking back to the hotel for the closing ceremony. Quo got a first-class trip into the closing ceremony and helped us nab a great table near the stage. He proceeded to take bits of food off of everyone's plates and alternated between stuffing them into his pockets and his mouth. The costume contest was a blast, and Quo cheered the most for the gingerbread man. After the ceremony, we helped Quo sneak onto the stage so that he could speak to those remaining about the importance of providing him harvest. He wowed all tens of people watching him and was eventually chased off the stage by the community team. Our fanfare adventures were coming to a close, and I gave Quo a couple of last-minute treats. He played slots for a while, lamenting that no fruit was paid out, then took a good look for the last time at the nighttime Vegas lights. The boy was finally tuckered out from one crazy weekend and went to bed while I snuck out to enjoy the remainder of the night. Author's notes: taking Quo to fanfare was quite the undertaking. I have to admit that this was the most difficult Quo adventure story to tackle. Special thanks to the many people who assisted with Quo's adventures at fanfare. Alright, so now we've got 2 more volumes. Yeah, I gotta hurry. Read faster, read faster! Okay, Misadventures, Volume 1, the year 3864. My dear readers, I must say that I was overwhelmed by the correspondence I received regarding my first story. I thank you all for your support and enjoyment in the Brude tale, as well as emphasizing with your relating the annoyances that Quo Ogren has wrought upon your lives. After the Bristleplane celebrations had come to a close, I had fully intended to pen another story for my supporters. The very morning I sat down and began reviewing my notes, I took a knock on my door. A royal note bearer had come by with a summons from the Queen, Antonia Bale herself. Of course, I could not refuse such a summons, and Quo and I quickly headed off for the castle. We arrived, and Quo met the Queen, who had heard of the boy's interest from her many retainers. She sent him on a tour of her castle with the guards, while she and I discussed the primary reason of me being summoned to her Majesty's presence. I, f- I fear that, aside from stating that she honored me by entrusting me with a mission of great importance, I still cannot divulge this information. I returned, quote, to his mother for a few months that I was away. I returned to Maria recently and reunited with Quo and had a long chat with his mother. The boy had regaled her with stories of what we had done in our time together, and despite my belief that she would be upset by my failure to take Quo to Velius, she was actually quite impressed that her son was learning more about of the world outside of their small village. With her blessing to keep Quo with me for as long as I could possibly want, we set off again on a small adventure before returning to my home to set his tale on paper. Quo and I both hope that you forgive the long interruption and enjoy the story. Selenia Vilnarian. The day after Brew Day ended, the sun had barely peaked above the horizon when I heard someone shouting at me from my hallway. Selenia, get up! You won't believe this. Shirley yelled. I jolted awake and sat up, glaring her way. This better be important. I really should reconsider having the keys to my home, I grumbled. Shirley giggled and danced her way over to my bed, yanking me out and shoving a mug of coffee into my hands. It's so exciting, I just couldn't wait. Quick, drink that and I'll get Quo. And do you always sleep like that? She exclaimed. I looked down at my full set of armor with my weapons still strapped on. I guess I was a bit tired, I muttered as I chugged down my coffee. In a short time, Shirley, Quo, and I were on the backs of our griffins and soaring to the enchanted lands. The troubadour must have known she hit a nerve and didn't say anything else until we arrived. We glided in near the Alturian spires and Shirley gestured to the shoreline. See, isn't that amazing? She asked. I rubbed my eyes, sure that they were playing tricks on me. Finally, Quo broke my befuddlement with his obvious observations. What pretty jagged lights in the sky. Just as he finished speaking, another adventurer leaped out from the portal with a look of amazement upon his face. Well, I demanded, tell us, man, what is that thing? The wood elf looked around and finally focused on us. I'm back, he exclaimed. You wouldn't believe this, but it's a portal in time. I couldn't just, wow, go see. We certainly did go see. The portal took us to the old lands of West Karana, where we met a ranger of ancient times who instructed us on how best to find the fabled Pegasus Quillamane. Quo followed us around, amazed at the changes of the world and at seeing creatures of ancient tales come to life. After our trip to the Coronaris, we met with some chronomancers in Antonica who informed us that these portals were small pockets of disruption in time called chronoportals that allowed hardy adventurers to visit lands from our distant past. There were 8 portals in total to be explored over the course of the week. Quo and I explored each portal, occasionally being accompanied by friends and vanquished beasts that were only distant whispers of the past. In the end, Quo learned a fair bit about the art of combat, and the chronomancers awarded us all by naming us time travelers. Okay, it was too long. Oh, and then it says special thanks to Shirley for being who she is and being inspiration for the Chrono Portals part of this story. Okay, so the last one, I'm trying to hurry. Hopefully it's not too long. 38:48. We had barely walked away from the chronomancers when Quo shrieked with delight. I turned in time to see him digging inside a glow shrub and pulled out an org tutu. He looked at me with an expression of pure confusion as I broke into laughter. Bristlebane's touch is upon the lands again, I explained as I ushered Quo over to where I knew the god of mischief's avatar would be. They made acquaintance and Quo gawked while Bristlebane told several jokes before sending us off to assist his followers in the Enchanted Lands. I must admit that Quo doesn't seem to have much of a sense of humor, and I likely enjoyed our adventures more than he. We were sent off on an explosive pirate ship to retrieve jokes for a joke shop, defeated the Rat King in a battle, and even solved the Great Sphinx's riddles. After we returned, we were rewarded for our efforts. I set Quo off on a harvesting spree. He was full of exclamations of surprise, excitement, displeasure, and confusion as he found a wide variety of items from frostful goodies to druidite hairpieces. We departed with his sacks bulging with newly acquired treasures, and he had plenty of unique harvests to study after I had to leave him behind and continue my service to the Queen. Hi everyone, this is Quo Ogren. Selena is letting me write the very end of this story so I can get some practice. So I am so excited, and Selena is so much fun, and I'm so happy that my mom is letting me stay with her, and I'm behaving so much. And okay, Selena just told me that having something called running on sentences is a bad thing in a story. I don't know how you'd run on a sentence, but it sounds like that it would hurt it quite a bit. Now she's saying to get on with it. So here's my story. Last week, she finally returned after being gone forever because that silly queen with the pretty garden sent her away. My mom was so happy to see me be together with Selenia again that she said she was crying with joy. Instead of heading straight to Sai's house in New Hollis, we went to his cool place called Castle Mistmore instead. There were all kinds of funny elves inside that Selenia said were actually called vampires. I've read stories about those before where they were suck out your blood, but these ones don't seem to want anything of that sort. They just cringed where wherever whenever Selenia walked by, and she made sure I stayed really close. I guess she believed those stories even though I told her these sure seemed to be nice vampires. We found some cool writings that Selenia handed over to some lady that only showed up whenever she used this funny magic whistle. I was a bit sad that I couldn't read them, but Sai said it would be better for me if I didn't know what was in them. Then we headed upstairs where she scared off the gargoyles that were looking at me and strolled into this huge thorn throne throne room. Inside was this guy named Mahjong Miss Moore. He was shouting something about facing his wrath until Selenia walked into his sight. That made him stop pretty fast. Maybe he was an imaginary friend that he was talking to. Anyways, I asked if I could get a picture taken with him because I thought he was really cool looking. He had really cool looking armor, and he was very happy to oblige. Selena kept a close eye on him and kept smacking him over the head every time he started to lean in close to me. What a funny guy. We're back at Sai's home now, resting up before a big adventure to a really exotic place. I want to tell you what it is, but it's a huge surprise, and Selena said she'd drop me off deep in Toxilia Forest and never return for me if I spoiled it. She said that I can tell you that there will be lots of pictures and other great stories involved. Cole Ogren. Okay. Again, if you want the other volumes, you can get it. Alright, I'm off to Majul. Thanks for watching, everyone. I will see you soon.